Some kids have shown that the statement "children are a blessing" is not always true because of the deadly crimes they chose to commit. They have made fun of their victims' memories and have sworn to hit a deadly target. Today we are looking at the reactions of these children when they find out the consequences of their actions.
I'm so sorry. I don't know if there's a proper way to make this apology because there are not even words to describe the guilt and remorse that I feel each day for what I've done.
This is Rachel Schoaf, and she's charged with the murder of Skylar Neese when she was only 16 years old. On July 6, 2012, 16-year-old Skylar Neese disappeared from her home in Star City, West Virginia, and was not found until January 16, 2013. Unfortunately, only Neese's body was found with the help of one of the murderers, Rachel Schoaf. The other person who was charged with the murder of Neese was Sheila Eddy. Schoaf and Eddy were friends with Neese until their friendship turned sour. According to Schoaf's confessions, the motive for murdering Neese was that they didn't like her and didn't want to be friends with her anymore. The surveillance of the apartment where Neese lived showed that Neese left her home at 12:30 a.m. through her window and entered into a sedan with Schoaf and Eddy. That was the last time anyone besides Schoaf and Eddy saw Neese alive. Because of this, Neese was first treated as a runaway until the police discovered that the sedan on the surveillance belonged to Eddy.
Rachel and Sheila drove around Star City and in the area, preparing themselves. They had concealed knives on their bodies that had been wrapped in towels by Sheila Eddy, and they took that shovel with them, and they arrived at Skylar's home and told her they were waiting for her. They were waiting to kill her.
When Schoaf and Eddy were questioned, they said they had hung out with Neese but dropped her off at home an hour after they left. At this point, Neese hadn't been found. However, on January 3, 2013, Rachel Schoaf suddenly admitted that she and Eddy had plotted to kill Neese. She also led them to where they left Neese. Skylar Neese had been stabbed to death almost 30 miles away from her home before Schoaf and Eddy dumped her body and covered it up with branches. It was not until years later that Schoaf finally gave the real motive behind the murder. According to her, she and Eddy had been in a romantic relationship and Neese caused tension between the couple, leading them to get rid of her.
I'm so sorry. I don't know if there's a proper way to make this apology because there are not even words to describe the guilt and remorse that I feel each day for what I've done.
Schoaf pled guilty to second-degree murder in exchange for cooperating with the authorities to find her victim. In court, she apologized for her actions and showed remorse for what she did. She was teary as she apologized to Neese's family and her parents. Eventually, it was time for sentencing.
It is the sentence of the court that you be imprisoned in the West Virginia State Penitentiary for a period of 30 years.
Rachel Schoaf was sentenced to 30 years in prison with the possibility of parole after 10 years. On May 9, 2023, Schoaf became eligible for parole and bid for it. She was denied parole and remains in custody. Schoaf and Eddy murdered Neese because of romantic tension. But how does it compare to murdering one's grandparents for no apparent reason, as Johnny Ryder and Cassandra Bjork did?
All right, Ms. Bjork, you are charged with 2 felony warrants for murder, 2 felony warrants for aggravated assault.
On April 8, 2017, Gwinnett County, Georgia experienced the shocking and brutal double murders of 63-year-old Randall and Wendy Bjork. The two were grandparents to 17-year-old Cassandra Bjork. They had gotten legal custody because she had issues with her parents. Despite the grandparents' best efforts to give Cassandra a good life, she became more troubled and would run away from home from time to time. She also brought home drugs and assaulted her grandmother on multiple occasions. She also had a boyfriend, 19-year-old Johnny Ryder, who she ran away with many times. The couple were described as volatile and toxic. Eventually, they committed worse crimes. On April 8th, the police responded to an assault case in a home in Lawrenceville, and the victims identified the attackers as Johnny Ryder and Cassandra Bjork. The two of them had attacked Johnny's sister and her boyfriend with a baseball bat and pepper spray before escaping. The car they used to escape belonged to Wendy and Randall, and this led the police to force their way into the home, as they expected the worst. To their horror, they found the bodies of Wendy and Randall. The two of them had been stabbed multiple times. Their autopsies showed that they had suffered blunt force to the head and various cuts around their throats. Everyone was horrified that something like that had happened in their community. Cassie and Johnny became the main suspects in the case, and a day after the Bjorks were found, their granddaughter and her boyfriend were found after they barricaded themselves inside an apartment. They refused to come out, and by the time the SWAT team was able to get a visual, they found out that the teens were injured in the bathroom as they had tried to commit suicide. They failed at this attempt and were taken to the hospital. The two of them were charged with the murders of Cassie's grandparents. The interrogation revealed some shocking details that showed that the murder had been premeditated.
It seems that you're sorry you got caught, that you had people over after. You don't seem to be sorry that you killed your grandparents.
Cassie told the police that they had planned to murder her grandparents and keep their bodies from being discovered. According to Cassandra, she and Johnny waited until her grandparents were asleep before entering their bedroom, duct taping and attacking them. The murder weapons included a tire iron, a baseball bat, a hammer, and butcher knives. The two of them beat and stabbed the Bjorgs to death. What's even more horrific is that after the murders, Cassandra sealed the windows and doors with caulk to keep the smell of the decomposing bodies from coming out.
And then we came back to the house.
When you guys left, where'd you guys go to?
We went over to like Kroger or Publix to go get something to eat. And then we went back to the house and we just kind of like chilled there.
Which one?
That was like on Old Peachtree.
Johnny and Cassie then ordered takeout and invited their friends to the house for a party. She also said that they smoked a lot of weed to mask the smell of the bodies, as they were in the house for more than a week.
Things like just seemed different. They didn't look at me the same anymore. Like they didn't, I don't know, it's like the vibe that they have was like, they didn't really know what to do. They didn't really know like how to be around me, I guess. They didn't really know how to talk to me.
The motive for the murder was shocking. Cassie said she killed her grandparents because they were too strict. She also said that her grandparents weren't the only intended victims. According to her, she and Johnny had planned to kill Johnny's family and Cassandra's mother. They both took a plea deal and didn't go to trial. Both of them were sentenced to 2 life sentences, each with the possibility of parole after 60 years. When the two heard their sentences, their reactions were different from each other. While Johnny apologized for what he did, Cassie was said to have been crying and refused to say anything even when she was given the chance to speak. The two would be eligible for parole in 2077. This case bears some semblance to the next one, but what do we say of an adult helping a minor to kill her father, like Ellen Fryer?
I've seen all different kinds of people, and now see humanity from a new, compassionate perspective.
This is Ellen Fryer, and she is being charged with a felony of conspiring to murder her father with the help of her 19-year-old boyfriend in 2017. On October 2, 2017, 50-year-old Aaron Fryer and 15-year-old Ellen Fryer were reported missing by Aaron's girlfriend after Aaron's younger daughters had found blood in their home. Aaron's 11-year-old daughter said she heard her father yelling in the morning but didn't come down until later. Then she recalled hearing the voice of Gavin McFarlane, Ellen's 19-year-old boyfriend. Aaron's body was found a week later in the woods. Based on the statements that Ellen's siblings had given, Ellen and her boyfriend were brought in for questioning, and the details that were revealed will shock you. According to Ellen, her father had told her that she could not be with Gavin because she was a minor and Gavin should know better. Before the unfortunate murder, Aaron had forbidden Gavin from seeing his daughter again, and even threatened to kill him if he saw him near his daughter again. Ellen allegedly told the police that her father had been abusive and that she wanted to run away together with Gavin. According to her, Gavin had shown up with 22-year-old Russell Jones with a machete in hand. She told the police that 22-year-old Jones had attacked her father, and she ran away when she heard yelling. However, the story that Jones told the police was different. He told them that it was Gavin who had killed Aaron with a baseball bat. He said that he had walked into the house to see Aaron's body on the floor. Jones said that the only role that he played in the murder was helping Gavin to get rid of the body. He also said that Ellen had been the mastermind behind it all. Gavin McFarlane admitted to killing Aaron Fryer, but there was a sickening twist.
I didn't want to kill him. I didn't want to kill him. She wanted him dead, but I didn't want to kill him. I was like, I'm not going to kill him. She was all like, no, I don't want him around him.
Ellen had told Gavin that her father had abused her, and that she was 2 weeks pregnant as a result. Except Ellen wasn't pregnant, and Aaron Fryer hadn't been abusive. He was just trying to protect his daughter from Gavin, who was eventually found guilty of third-degree rape because he had sexual relations with Fryer as a minor. Gavin then revealed that Ellen had told him to kill her father. He said she told him this: "Go out in the front room, take him out and text me, and let me know when it's done." After this was revealed, Ellen pled guilty to conspiracy to commit murder and was sentenced to 25 years in prison. Gavin McFarlane was found guilty of homicide and sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 25 years. At her sentencing hearing, Ellen apologized for her actions and said that she was spending every day asking for forgiveness because she found God during the period that she was awaiting sentencing. She will be eligible for parole in 2041. Where Ellen used the help of another person to murder her father, the same cannot be said for Gavin Smith, who murdered his entire family by himself.
There's days that I do anything to take it back.
On December 13, 2020, the bodies of 4 people were found in Elkview, West Virginia. 39-year-old Risa Saunders Long, 37-year-old Daniel Long, 12-year-old Gage Ripley, and 3-year-old Jameson Long. The 4 members of the family were fatally shot. The perpetrator? 16-year-old Gavin Smith. The people who were murdered were Gavin's mother, his stepfather, and his 2 younger brothers. All 5 of them had been in the house because of COVID-19 curfews and restrictions. According to Gavin, the pressure in the house was overbearing because his parents were strict and had too many rules on everything ranging from food to screen time. Gavin decided to murder his parents after they forbade him from seeing his 17-year-old girlfriend, Rebecca Walker. Gavin Smith waited until his family was asleep before he shot his parents and 12-year-old brother in the head. Before he did this, he was on a video call with Rebecca. At first, it seemed like Gavin had hung up to commit the murders, but evidence later showed that the video call was still ongoing when he murdered his family. After he shot them, he continued to talk to Rebecca until he heard his 3-year-old brother crying from under his crib where he was hiding. He then went to look for him before shooting him in the head as well. After he committed the murder, he went to Rebecca's house, and she hid him for 4 days until the police found him. Gavin was arrested and charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder, 1 count of second-degree murder, and use of a firearm during the commission of a felony.
You do grant this alternate sentence Mr. Sullivan's talking about, you won't have an issue on me because I never was involved with it all until December of 2020.
After he was charged to court, Gavin apologized for his actions and said that he would take it back if he could. He also asked for leniency. Despite this, the judge believed that he showed no remorse for his actions because what he did was evil. Judge Kenneth Ballard also said that the only reason he was sentencing Gavin with mercy was because Smith had committed the murders as a minor.
Executed your mother and stepfather by shooting them in the head while they were asleep. Then you executed your 2 brothers by shooting them in the head, the youngest which was hiding under his crib. Your actions can only be described as an act of pure evil. Evil.
Eventually, Smith was sentenced to 3 life sentences for the first-degree murder of his mother, stepfather, and 3-year-old brother, 40 years for the murder of his 12-year-old brother, and 10 years for the use of a firearm. Gavin will be eligible for parole after 15 years, but he may never be granted. While Gavin Smith faces 3 life sentences, the next case takes it to another level. A teen who murdered her own mother.
She was having a mental health crisis.
She doesn't know what was going on at that time. We're asking you to find her not guilty by reason of insanity.
Prosecutors say she shot her mother, Ashley Smiley, a 40-year-old high school math teacher, in the face.
On March 19, 2024, a friend of 14-year-old Carly Gregg reached out to Ashley Smiley, Carly's mother, expressing concerns about her daughter's excessive use of marijuana. The friend revealed that Carly had been indulging in the drug and using burner cell phones, raising alarms about their well-being. Determined to act, Ashley decided to confront her daughter about the rumors. After speaking to Carly's friend, Ashley made her way to Carly's bedroom. What she discovered there shocked her. Several vape pens lay scattered across the bedroom. Alarmed, Ashley quickly wanted answers.
The jury seeing 5 days of disturbing evidence, including this surveillance video. First, you see Greg with a gun behind her back, pacing around the home.
That afternoon, security camera footage from inside the home captured a chilling scene. Carly, dressed in a Nirvana t-shirt, moved around the house, seemingly hiding something behind her back. It turned out to be a .357 Magnum handgun. As Carly walked out of view from the camera, the sound of 3 gunshots shattered the silence. The footage then showed Carly rushing back to the kitchen, where she sat calmly on the stool at the counter. She took out her phone and texted a friend, asking them to come over because there was an emergency. When Carly's friends arrived at the house, Carly asked them if they had ever seen a dead body. Without further explanation, Carly took them into her mother's bedroom, where Ashley lay lifeless, her face soaked in blood. According to this friend, Carly confessed that her stepfather, Heath Smiley, was next on her list. Using her dead mother's phone, Carly, pretending to be her mother, sent a message to Heath. The message read, "When will you be home, honey?" Little did Heath know that this message was a carefully crafted trap.
Her stepfather, Heath Smiley, coming home moments later, Greg also shooting him.
When Heath arrived at the front door, Carly ambushed him, shooting her stepfather in the shoulder. Despite the injury, Heath managed to take control of the situation. He overpowered Carly and took the gun away from her, ultimately saving his own life. In a panic, Heath called for help. Police officers arrived swiftly, along with paramedics. Carly was arrested on the spot. As investigators delved into Carly's background, they discovered a diary that shed light on her darkest thoughts. The journal revealed a list of beliefs that painted a chilling picture of Carly's twisted mind. Among these beliefs were statements such as, "There is no God," "It's okay to be evil," and "There is no need for family." The prosecution offered Carly a 40-year plea deal before her trial. However, she declined the offer. Carly's case quickly gained media attention, and the trial commenced 6 months later, in September 2024.
Tonight, a Mississippi teen sentenced to life in prison without parole for murdering her mother and attempting to kill her stepfather.
During the trial, the prosecution presented a compelling argument, painting Carly Gregg as a calculating and cold-hearted killer. They alleged that Carly intentionally shot and killed her mother, Ashley, after Ashley discovered her secret marijuana use. The prosecution described Carly as a dangerous young lady who showed no remorse for her actions and planned the attack on her stepfather.
We, the jury, sentenced the defendant Carly Madison Gregg to life imprisonment.
The defense, on the other hand, presented a different narrative to the court. They claimed that Carly was in the midst of mental health struggles at the time of the crimes. A psychiatrist testified that Carly's mood swings were exacerbated by the medication she was taking. This psychiatrist argued that Carly's actions were not premeditated, but were driven by her unstable mental state. According to the psychiatrist, Carly's mental health struggles played a significant role in her violent actions. To support this claim, the defense presented Carly's journals as evidence, which revealed a young woman in mental turmoil.
I need to get some information from you. What is her name again?
Carly, C-A-R-L-Y.
C-A-R-L-Y?
Carly Madison.
During the trial, the prosecution presented the body cam footage captured by the police officers at the scene. The video depicted the chaotic aftermath of the murders as officers arrived at the scene and conducted their investigation. Carly sat at the defense table. She stared intently, her eyes fixed on the screen. As Carly watched the footage, tears welled up in her eyes. The once composed and confident teenager was overcome with emotion. One of the key witnesses in Carly's trial was her stepfather, Heath.
Went off in my face before the door was, 3 or 4 inches wide open.
Heath testified about the tragic events that led to his wife's murder. He stated that despite Carly's actions, he still had a good relationship with her. This statement shocked the public, as it seemed incomprehensible that he could maintain a bond with someone who had shot him and taken the life of his wife. In their closing argument, the prosecution reminded the jury that Carly knew the difference between right and wrong when she committed the murder. After careful consideration, the jury deliberated for less than 2 hours before delivering their verdict. They returned a guilty verdict, finding Carly guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. Carly, who was only 15 years old, was found guilty of first-degree murder. Speaking to WLBT in an exclusive interview, Kevin Gregg, Carly's biological father, said he was embarrassed, angry, upset, and very sad about his daughter's actions. Currently, Carly is being held in the Youthful Offender Unit at the Central Mississippi Correctional Facility. The defense attorneys have indicated that they plan to appeal Carly's conviction. However, given the severity of her crime and the public outcry, it seems unlikely that the appeal will successfully overturn the verdict. The next case involves Julio Cesar Rivera II, a notorious teen who shot a woman in the face during a string of carjackings, leaving a trail of terror in his wake.
But the robbery suspect didn't understand it had a keyless starting system. He says the man turned violent and started pistol whipping Alana.
On November 2, 2021, at approximately 3 p.m., 18-year-old Julio Cesar Rivera II approached Alana Castaneda at Whole Foods Market in the Alamo Quarry Market. Little did she know Julio was armed with a gun and prepared to carry out a robbery.
When his daughter found a gun in her face, she tried to give up her car, and he says that woman who helped his daughter in her greatest hour of need, he says that woman's a hero.
As the confrontation unfolded, Alana and Julio began struggling as Julio attempted to steal her vehicle. In the chaos, the weapon went off, striking Alana in the head. The gunshot echoed through the bustling marketplace, attracting the attention of bystanders and witnesses.
Godsend, everyone. I have never felt this much love in my life.
In the aftermath of the shooting, Julio fled the scene, leaving Alana bleeding on the ground. However, officers swiftly caught up to him a short while later, finding a handgun in his possession. Alana miraculously recovered, but that night's impact would forever haunt her. As investigators dug deeper into Julio's actions, they discovered a chilling pattern of armed carjackings dating back to October 2021. During this period, Julio had committed numerous carjackings, targeting unsuspecting victims throughout San Antonio. The crimes had escalated over time, displaying an alarming escalation in violence.
According to court records, 20-year-old Julio Cesar Rivera sentenced to 45 years in prison.
Facing mounting evidence against them, Julio pleaded guilty to 3 cases against him in 2023. The plea deal secured a conviction and prevented Julio from appealing his sentence. This meant the judge's decision was final, leaving little room for negotiation or reconsideration.
It was 45 years. I just started crying because it's not just for me, it's for the other victims as well.
During the sentencing phase, Alana had the opportunity to address the court and make her voice heard. She demanded that Julio receive the maximum sentence of 45 years for his crime. Alana explained to the court the pain and trauma she had endured as a result of his actions, emphasizing the need for justice to be served. During Julio's setting hearing, his family pleaded for leniency from the judge. Julio's loved ones argued that Julio had grown up without his mother and had faced numerous challenges throughout his life. They suggested that other people had manipulated Julio into participating in the carjackings. According to his father's partner, Julio had once lived with them but struggled with substance abuse. They had to kick him out of their house on several occasions due to his inability to cope with his addiction. That aspect of Julio's life further complicated the situation and, according to the defense, shed light on the reasons behind his actions.
I appreciate that his parents might think he was put up to it, but these were his choices, these were his decisions, this was his gun.
They presented evidence indicating that Julio had obtained the gun used to shoot Alana, leading to further suspicion that he was responsible for the heinous crime.
Ahead of his sentencing, Rivera apologized directly to Castaneda.
I got a lot of time to sit here and think about what I've done. I'm not the same person I was 2 years ago.
The judge, weighing the evidence presented, opted to sentence Julio to the harshest possible, 45 years behind bars. In an emotional moment, Julio addressed Alana in court, expressing his sorrow and regret. Julio claimed that he prays daily for forgiveness and Alana's good health, seeking redemption for his actions.
Face to face with Rivera again was hard, said Castaneda, who's already endured 3 surgeries, with a 4th to come.
Following the sentencing, Alana shared her thoughts and feelings on social media. She expressed the challenges she faced in the aftermath of facing her shooter in court, acknowledging the emotional toll it took on her. Alana emphasized the importance of her ongoing recovery process and assured her supporters that she was determined to move forward with her life. In this next case, Joshua Coleman, a 15-year-old boy, seemed to have a normal upbringing. However, beneath the surface, things were not as they appeared. Deasia Green, a 15-year-old girl, was a chronic runaway, often disappearing for days. However, when her parents reported her missing in early January 2013, the police knew something was different this time. Her parents gave the authorities detailed information, hoping to bring her home safely.
Last year, Toledo police found the 15-year-old girl dead in an alley in the 1300 block of Page.
Just 6 days after she was reported missing, Deasia's lifeless body was found in an alley. She had been shot once in the head. The police were immediately called to investigate, and a crime scene was quickly established. Through their investigation, the police obtained a crucial eyewitness account. This witness claimed a 15-year-old boy named Joshua Coleman was the one who fatally shot Deasia.
As Green's mother asked him why he killed her daughter.
Why would Joshua do this to her? She didn't deserve it. She was a social butterfly. She didn't deserve it.
4 days after the discovery of Deasia's body, Joshua was arrested and charged with murder and felonious assault. He was swiftly indicted as an adult, a decision that shocked many given the age of both victim and perpetrator. According to sources, Deasia and Joshua had been dating shortly before her death. Joshua Coleman's attorneys and prosecutors eventually reached an agreement. The prosecution agreed to drop the charges of felonious assault and the gun specifications in exchange for Joshua receiving a life sentence, but being eligible for parole in 2039. During the sentencing hearing, the prosecution told the court the motive for Joshua's shooting of Deasia was never determined.
The last time I seen my baby was December 31st. That was the last day I seen my baby. The last time, y'all.
Deasia's mother delivered a devastating victim impact statement. She described Deasia as a social butterfly, full of life and joy. Throughout the trial, Joshua remained silent, only answering yes and no questions from the judge. His lack of remorse further enraged Deaja's loved ones.
In her murder later this month, he was sentenced to 15 years to life behind bars.
During the sentencing phase, the judge asked Joshua if he wanted to give a statement or explain the motive behind the shooting. However, Joshua declined, leaving many unanswered questions. Without the eyewitness's testimony, there may never have been justice for Deaja. The police, acknowledging this witness's crucial role, credited that person for their bravery and determination. It was the eyewitness's testimony that ultimately led to Joshua's conviction. Up next is the chilling tale of Brendan Deppa, a teenage felon whose crimes shocked his school community and targeted his own teacher.
He's charged with beating teachers aide Joe Nadich last year for taking his Nintendo away in class, and deputies saying he beat her unconscious.
Joanne Nadich was a valued paraprofessional at Matanzas High School who had gained a reputation for her dedication and commitment to supporting students. However, she became increasingly concerned about Brendan Deppa, a troubled teen known for his aggressive behavior and obsession with gaming. In February 2023, Joanne approached Brendan's teacher to express her concerns about allowing him to participate in the gaming console class. She believed that given his disruptive behavior and lack of focus, he should not be allowed to use the console in the classroom. Brendan became enraged after hearing that he would no longer be allowed to use the console in the classroom. Instead of directing his anger towards his teacher, Brendan turned his wrath on Joanne. In a fit of rage, he stood up and got into Joanne's face, spitting on her. Determined to escape the situation, Joanne attempted to leave the classroom. However, Brendan refused to back down, pushing her to the ground. As Joanne lay defenseless on the ground, Brendan continued his assault, raining down blows and kicks upon her. Fortunately, the assault was interrupted by several bystanders who managed to pull Brendan away from Joanne.
Friends are raising money for Joan in a GoFundMe. You can see more than $40,000 has been raised so far.
As the deputies led Brendan away, he continued to threaten Joanne, vowing to kill her. Joanne's injuries were extensive and required immediate medical attention. She was hospitalized, where she was diagnosed with broken ribs, herniated discs, and rotator cuff injuries. In addition to these physical wounds, Joanne also began to experience the impact of the attack on her mental health. Matanzas High School surveillance system captured the entire incident. Footage of Brendan's merciless beating of Joanne quickly spread online, captivating the attention of viewers worldwide. Brendan's time behind bars was not without controversy. He managed to secure his GED while incarcerated. Nevertheless, he also found himself in frequent trouble, accumulating 9 incidents while confined in Flagler County Jail.
He is articulate and thoughtful in his responses to the court. He's been here the entire day without any problems in that regard, participating in these proceedings.
2 years after his arrest, Brendan pleaded no contest to aggravated battery on a school board employee. During the sentencing hearing, Brendan's demeanor was both disturbing and perplexing. Brendan laid his head on the defense table.
Candidate for solely community-based sanctions, at least not at first. Turning to this particular incident.
When the prosecutor spoke, calling Brendan dangerous, Brendan bent over in his seat, keeping his eyes firmly planted on the ground. The judge sentenced Brendan to 5 years in state prison and 15 years probation. Addressing Brendan directly, the judge declared that he had shown no remorse throughout the proceedings.
But for all of his diagnosis and treatment that he needs, that he be evaluated for his prescription medication on a regular basis.
Throughout the hearing, Brendan became increasingly agitated. He repeatedly protested at his attorney and demanded to speak, holding up a sheet of paper twice to emphasize his point. As Brendan left the courthouse, his demeanor seemed to change. Instead of his usual smile and enthusiastic interactions with the press, he gave a disturbing gesture. Brendan flipped off the cameras, sending a chilling message to the media and the world.
First of all, Ashley, I want to thank you for having me on tonight. I really appreciate that. It obviously was not what we were hoping for.
Speaking on his behalf, Brendan's mother expressed her dissatisfaction with the verdict and the sentence. Brendan's mother also claimed that the court was punishing her son because of his race. She alleged that the school district had failed her son by not implementing a proper behavior plan, leading to his aggressive behavior. Instead of prison, she advocated for Brendan to receive treatment, believing that this alternative would better address his issues. While Brendan Deppa's actions may have stopped short of murder, the case of 15-year-old Gregory Ramos serves as a chilling reminder of the depths of human corruption.
Around midnight, he allegedly sneaked into his mom's room and strangled her. Then he went to get a wheelbarrow to bring the body out of the house.
Gail Clevenger, a deeply religious woman, was known for her sweet, kind nature and ability to get along well with everyone. In 2018, Gail's son Gregory reached 15 and began attending University High School. Gail would drive Gregory to school each day, but behind the facade of a seemingly innocent teenager, there was a diabolical plot brewing. In November of 2018, everything took a tragic turn. Gregory returned home to find his mother, Gail, waiting for him. An argument soon began, with Gail expressing her disappointment over a D grade he had received in class. Like any teenager, Gregory ran to his room and slammed the door. However, Gregory was plotting something sinister behind that closed door. At midnight, he emerged from his room and walked towards his mother, who was sound asleep. Gregory placed his hands around Gail's neck and strangled her. Gregory believed that he had successfully killed his mother when he left her bedroom and headed to the backyard. He got a wheelbarrow, thinking it would be the perfect tool to transport the body. As Gregory returned to his mother's bedroom, he found that she was still breathing, leaving him with no choice but to continue his deadly assault. Finally, Gregory felt his mother's last breath. Relief washed over him. He cautiously approached the body, confirming for himself that she was no longer alive. Gregory then placed her body in the wheelbarrow and loaded it into the family car. Gregory left DeBerry and headed towards Daytona Beach. However, he quickly realized he had forgotten a shovel and turned around midway through the ride to retrieve it. As he returned home, Gregory called two of his friends. Together, they planned to hide electronic and valuable items from Gregory's house to make the scene look like a burglary. After hiding the items, he transported his mother's body to River City Church. There, he buried his mother's body beneath a fire pit. Following these heinous crimes, Gregory calmly went to a Circle K store, where he purchased soda as if nothing had happened. The following morning, Gregory went to school. However, when he returned home, he called 911, reporting a robbery. When the police arrived, Gregory explained that his mother was missing, but her car was still in the driveway.
Checked the entire house because I was looking for her, but she's not here. I just got home, and my house is completely trashed.
Initially, the police believed Gregory's story that he was worried for his mother's safety. However, as the investigation unfolded, the case details raised suspicions and led to the discovery of the tragic truth. As detectives dug deeper, they noticed inconsistencies in Gregory's story. Despite claiming to be a concerned son, there were discrepancies. The detectives grew suspicious of Gregory's involvement in the crime.
He called police and claimed there had been a break-in at the house and his mom was missing. This is police body cam video.
As the questioning continued, Gregory's statements became more incriminating. He eventually admitted to murdering his mother and implicated his two friends who helped him cover up the crime. Gregory revealed that he had planned and executed the murder with the help of his friends on May 31, 2019. After Gregory admitted to killing his mother and disposing of her body at the church, investigators headed there, where they uncovered Gail's remains. In addition to uncovering Gail's remains, investigators also seized several items from around the fire pit. A shovel and broom, seemingly used to assist in burying the body, were carefully collected as evidence. Following Gregory's confession and the successful recovery of Gail's remains, the Volusia County Sheriff's Office swiftly moved to bring charges against him. Gregory was arrested and charged with first-degree murder, abuse of a dead body, and tampering with evidence. Despite being 15, Gregory was charged as an adult due to the severity of his crimes.
It's the murder case shocking America. A 15-year-old confesses to strangling his mom over a bad grade.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Volusia County Sheriff Mike Chitwood addressed the media, expressing his outrage at Gregory's heinous crime. Sheriff Chitwood called Gregory a soulless individual who believed himself to be the smartest person in the room. According to Sheriff Chitwood, Gregory even went so far as to express his belief that he deserved an award for his skillful performance in reporting his mother missing during a 911 call. In January 2021, Gregory accepted a plea deal and was sentenced to 45 years in prison. During the sentencing hearing, the judge granted Gregory an opportunity for parole after he served 25 years in prison. His attorney expressed hope that Gregory would use his time in prison to reflect upon his actions and work towards becoming a productive citizen.
A Volusia County teen accused of murdering his mother. Gregory Ramos has pleaded guilty more than 2 years after detectives say the then 15-year-old strangled his mother to death over a fight.
One of the most poignant moments of the hearing came when Gregory's 84-year-old grandmother, who was also the victim's mother, was granted the opportunity to confront him face to face. This moment was a bittersweet reunion, as the older woman expressed her unwavering support for her grandson, despite her deep sense of loss. Even though she lost her daughter, she expressed her hope for Gregory's future and assured him that she would always be there for him. Gregory expressed remorse for his actions and apologized to his family. However, his words did little to alleviate the pain and loss felt by his family. He acknowledged the severity of his actions and admitted that he was not making excuses for himself. In contrast to Gregory Ramos, who killed his mother after a heated argument, Russell Burrell, at just 16 years old, carried out a premeditated attack on strangers, leaving 3 people dead.
He intended to rob them when he and 3 others burst into the General Street apartment and shot the victims. He faces up to 6 consecutive life sentences.
One fateful night, 17-year-old Russell Burrell and 3 of his friends found themselves in an apartment where they hatched a plan to commit burglary. Their target was a man named Michael Martin, whom they believed to be an easy target with potential access to marijuana and money. Their decision to rob Michael would lead to a series of events that would change their lives forever.
Not guilty to all counts, Your Honor.
At approximately 10 p.m., Russell, armed with a fully loaded 9mm Glock pistol equipped with a 17-round magazine and a red laser sight beam, led his friends to Michael Martin's residence. When Michael answered the door, Russell and his companions aggressively commanded him into the living room. Russell's actions escalated rapidly as he and his friends entered the apartment. In the living room, Russell confronted Michael and another man, Damian Colin, who happened to be in the apartment. Without hesitation, Russell opened fire on both men, killing them instantly. As the bullets rained down, Shamika Barrows, who had been asleep on the couch, woke up to the terrifying scene unfolding before her. Realizing that Shamika was also in the apartment, Russell turned his sights on her. In a moment of sheer terror, Shamika watched in disbelief as Russell emptied the remaining clips of his 9mm into her. Shamika died instantly.
At 6, we're learning more about one of those victims' final moments. Eyewitness News reporter Sean Daly joins us now live outside Providence Superior Court.
It wasn't long after the triple murders that Russell and the 3 other men were caught. Russell Burrell was arrested and charged with 3 counts of murder, 3 counts of discharging a firearm during the commission of a crime of violence, and 1 count of conspiracy. Due to the severity of his crimes, Russell faced charges as an adult.
After the group agreed to commit the robbery with the gun, Russell Burrell armed himself with this black 9mm handgun.
After a lengthy legal process, Russell eventually pleaded guilty to all counts. The Attorney General, Peter Kilmartin, described Russell's actions as hard to imagine, considering his age and the absence of remorse. However, Peter Kilmartin emphasized that Russell's actions were not the result of misguided youth, but rather a cold-hearted killer. Russell sat stoic and silent as his sentence was read to him, showing little reaction. The judge described Russell as a cold-blooded, pitiless slayer. Continuing, the judge said, "You became a thing and a hoodlum, and now you're a murderer, a 3-time killer. You deserve absolutely no leniency from this court." After that, the judge dismissed Russell's appeal for leniency. At Russell's sentencing, Peter Kilmartin assured the community that Russell would no longer threaten society. Russell was sentenced to life in prison for each of the first-degree murder charges to be served consecutively. Additionally, he received a life sentence for each of the firearm charges to run concurrently. Unlike Russell Burrell's random shooting spree, the case of Brian Draper and Troy Adamczyk involved deep betrayal and twisted motivations.
Our first victim is going to be Cassie Stoddard. She's going to be alone in a big, dark house out in the middle of nowhere. How perfect can you get?
Brian Lee Draper attended Pocatello High School and bonded closely with his best friend, Troy Adamczyk. Brian and Troy shared a passion for movies and aspirations of pursuing careers in the film industry. This common interest brought them closer, and they often collaborated on creating their videos. On September 22, 2006, Cassie Stoddard, a classmate and friend of Brian and Tony, was house-sitting for her aunt and uncle. With their permission, she invited her boyfriend, Matt Beckham, to hang out that night. Brian and Troy arrived at Cassie's aunt and uncle's house as the night progressed. However, Brian and Troy got up unexpectedly and left, telling Cassie and Matt they were heading to the movie theater.
Hello, Cassie. I'm getting you on tape, okay? Say hi, please. Hi. Okay, see ya.
Little did Cassie know that Brian and Troy, her 2 supposedly trusted friends, had sinister plans in mind. Before they left, Brian, unbeknownst to Cassie, unlocked the basement door, setting the scene for a horrifying turn of events. Brian and Troy parked their car down the street dressed in dark clothes, gloves, and scary masks, and returned to Cassie's aunt and uncle's house. After Matt left Cassie's aunt and uncle's house, Brian and Troy seized the opportunity. They turned the circuit breaker off, hoping Cassie would come downstairs and flip the switch, leading her into a trap. However, Cassie remained upstairs. As Cassie remained upstairs, unaware of the danger awaiting her, Brian and Troy silently made their way up the creaking basement stairs. Armed with a dagger and hunting knife, they confronted Cassie in the living room. Brian and Troy stabbed her over 30 times. The investigation into Cassie's murder quickly focused on Brian and Troy, and as investigators gathered evidence, they discovered a partially burned VHS tape. Upon closer examination, it revealed that Brian and Troy had meticulously documented their plans to murder Cassie.
Good luck. Hopefully you don't have to get through 8 or 9 failures like we have.
Yeah, we've probably tried maybe 10 times.
Brian and Troy were charged with first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit first-degree murder for Cassie's murder. In 2007, Brian and Troy went on trial for their heinous crime. According to the prosecution, Brian was deeply influenced by the infamous Columbine shooters, Dylan Klebold and Eric Harris. The prosecution argued that Troy murdered Cassie because he was obsessed with the horror movie Scream. From the gruesome depiction of the stab wounds inflicted upon her to the disturbing footage of their well-planned and executed murder, every detail presented at the trials painted a chilling picture of their sadistic nature. The medical examiner's testimony revealed the extent of the brutality inflicted upon Cassie Stoddart. He described multiple stab wounds, including deep lacerations to her neck, chest, and abdomen. Throughout the trial, Brian and Troy sat silently, in stark contrast to the boisterous demeanor they had displayed in their videos, where they excitedly talked about Cassie's murder. Their once cocky smiles were replaced by anxious glances and shifting in their seats. It was evident that they were deeply scared of the potential consequences they faced. The change in their behavior was striking. They seemed like completely different individuals, a far cry from the boisterous teenagers who had bragged about their exploits in the video. Their body language and demeanor betrayed their true selves, scared little boys who were now facing the consequences of their actions. Despite their efforts, Brian and Troy were found guilty and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Brian Lee Draper's cold and calculated actions were terrifying, but Sky Boucher brings a different kind of horror to the courtroom. His school shooting shocked the community, and his emotional reaction in court left everyone stunned.
That's why I put down the gun. I could have kept going. There was no officers there to stop me. I put it down because there was a girl there. She didn't run from me. She just, I shot through the door. I could have shot her, but I don't know.
Before embarking on his deadly mission, Sky Boucher meticulously planned every detail. Sky placed his shotgun into his guitar case. He then took 2 Phenibut, a psychoactive substance banned in the United States but available online. Additionally, Sky placed a tactical vest in his backpack and approached Forest High School. When Sky arrived at Forest High School, he saw a teenage girl walking by. However, instead of pulling the trigger, he hesitated. This unexpected moment of clarity may have prevented a more devastating outcome. Instead of targeting innocent lives, Sky fired his weapon through a classroom door, striking a student in the ankle. Minutes after firing the shotgun, Sky was arrested by a school resource officer. As the police approached, Sky had his hands up and surrendered, claiming he had a mental illness. Sky's motive behind the chilling act was to inflict fear in students, according to his statements. He claimed that he never intended to kill anyone, but rather wanted to terrorize the school population.
Watch your back. Did you intend on shooting anybody else?
Why today?
According to Sky, he had nightmares that prompted him to plan and perform the shooting. These disturbing dreams fueled his desire to take action and carry out a violent act. Sky admitted that he wanted to go to jail. He believed that being incarcerated would prevent him from committing another shooting in the future, fearing that he could be a danger to himself or others.
I put it in a guitar case, and I also had a tactical vest filled with shotgun slug rounds.
Sky admitted that he purchased the gun 1 week after the Marjorie Stoneman High School shooting in Parkland. This private cash sale did not require a background check. He was charged with terrorism, aggravated assault with a firearm, carrying a concealed weapon, and armed trespass on school property.
What do you have to say to people who are out there who are scared because of what you did today?
I don't know if it's going to make it any better. I could say sorry all I want, but it doesn't matter now.
Faced with the possibility of a lengthy prison sentence, Sky decided to plead no contest, resulting in a 30-year sentence with an additional 30 years of probation. During the sentencing hearing, Sky's grandmother, Linda Costello, was allowed to make a statement on his behalf. Speaking via Zoom, she described her grandson as a nice person and expressed her remorse for his actions. According to Linda, Sky had expressed a desire to make a positive impact in the community by sharing his story and urging other teenagers to stay away from illegal substances purchased over the internet.
It's a probable cause to hold you on the charges that have been made. I'm here to see about getting you some representation by an attorney.
The devastation caused by these young criminals is undeniable, but the intensity of their reactions is just the start. Don't miss what's next. More shocking stories and unforgettable courtroom moments are coming up in the next video.